In each of the last 5 years, an average of more than 30,000 Nova Scotians were injured on the job. All of these accidents could have been avoided. Because of this tragic situation, your provincial government took the initiative. It recently asked representatives of Nova Scotian management and labor to develop strategies for making work safer for you and for every Nova Scotian. Their recommendations now form the basis of new, decisive legislation.
So you're looking for a little rest and recreation on the job, eh? Well, you can forget that. But if you mean responsibilities and rights, well, you got them, okay?
Maybe you've heard the Nova Scotia government has passed a new law about safety on the job. It's called the Occupational Health and Safety Act.
I'll tell you one thing that's really different about this new law. Everyone, workers, bosses, even suppliers, has responsibility. You know, for preventing accidents or spilling dangerous chemicals. That kind of thing.
Now, accidents, they don't just happen, eh? 9.5 times out of 10, somebody screwed up somewhere. So this new law says, hey, at work, you gotta do all you can to protect yourself first and the other people on the job too.
That means you gotta wear all the right safety gear and clothes all the time. Like the brain bucket and boots here.
And no matter who you are, you've got to cooperate with your employer and with the Department of Labor inspectors to make sure that where you work meets all the requirements of the new law. For the first time, everybody who works is included, not just employees, but people who work for themselves too, like farmers, or people who operate fish and chip shops, or anyone who works for himself, truckers, plumbers, electricians, that sort of thing. Even instructors in IA, vocational school, or NSIT, according to the regulations, they're included too. They've got the same responsibilities in school that everyone else has on the job.
I figure you gotta take this safety thing seriously.
The new law says that if you do something dangerous or negligent that causes an accident, or even might cause one, you could get fined or put in jail.
I'm not complaining though. It makes sense. Who wants to break his neck or get sick? We all want to live to enjoy a long, healthy retirement, right?
Okay, thanks a lot. A risk-free working environment is everybody's business. Under the new Occupational Health and Safety Act, contractors and suppliers and employers like me share with their workers the responsibility for on-the-job health and safety.
It's quite simple, really. The law now requires all suppliers to ensure that any biological, chemical, or physical agent supplied is labeled in accordance with provincial and federal regulations. Suppliers must also ensure that anything they supply, whether it's paint, an inhalator, or a leased backhoe, is in safe condition. And if the lease says maintain it, it's the supplier's job to keep it safe too. In the same way, anyone who undertakes work on a project themselves or who contracts work for it must ensure that all the provisions of the Act are followed on site by everybody working there.
The Occupational Health and Safety Act defines an employer as anyone who hires people to perform work. The responsibilities of the employer under the Act are primarily to ensure the health and safety of persons at or near the workplace.
That means employers must provide and maintain for use on the job only equipment, machines, and materials that are properly equipped with safety devices. It also means employers must provide the information and supervision necessary to make the employees familiar with health and safety hazards where they work. That includes training them in safety procedures. It also means inspecting and testing safety equipment regularly, as well as cooperating with Department of Labor staff and the members of the Joint Health and Safety Committee at the workplace to make sure that everyone complies fully with the Act and its regulations.
What's an Occupational Health and Safety Committee? Well, the new Act assumes that any operation with more than 20 employees is just too large for one person to manage an efficient health and safety program.
That's why the Act requires that at any workplace where 20 or more persons are usually employed, the employer must establish at least one Occupational Health and Safety Committee to help bring workers and management together regularly in the quest for safe, healthy working conditions. The actual size of the committee and its rules of procedure are up to the employer, the employees, and any unions present, but there must be at least as many worker representatives as those from the employer. The committee's business is to investigate any complaints about health and safety on the job, to advise the employer concerning protective devices, equipment, and clothing, to participate in inspections, inquiries, or investigations concerning the health and safety of employees, and to organize a prevention program, informing employees about health and safety matters, training them in proper procedures, and making recommendations to employer and employee alike for the improvement of health and safety on the job.
Under this new law, every worker's got a right to participate in this health and safety committee business, you know.
There's got to be a committee if there's more than 20 working, and the boss has got to give the worker reps time off to attend meetings and to provide whatever safety training the members need, eh?
The reason that it's not good for being this large one or this particular shape. And as I said, whenever you see the cone, you know that it's going to make this sound.
The Occupational Health and Safety roster, along with the minutes of their meetings, must be posted where everyone can consult them.
Those meetings have got to be regular, too. They're not just for hearing complaints as they come up. You see, it's also the committee's job to set up routine self-inspections of working conditions and educational programs on work habits, hazards, and so on.
Workers and management, everyone's got to pull together for health and safety on the job. This committee is the way to go.
Under the new Occupational Health and Safety Act, all workers have the right to refuse work that they believe to be unsafe. But before they do, they must have done all they can to eliminate the hazard.
If workers can't fix a problem which threatens them in the workplace, they must first inform their supervisor, then remain in a safe place near their workstation until the hazard is removed or they are reassigned. The supervisor must then investigate with the worker who initiated the complaint present. The supervisor can then either correct the problem or discuss correcting it with the employer.
If the supervisor can see no hazard during the inspection, he or she can send the employee back to work.
Say you don't agree with what the supervisor says. Then you can complain to the Department of Labor if there's no health and safety committee where you work, or to a committee member if there is. But leave the labor disputes and personalities outside the door. The committee's only for health and safety issues.
The committee will investigate and either tell the worker he's off base or agree with him and get the employer to fix things. If you're still not satisfied, you can still call in the Department of Labor for the final word. And their ruling's like a court order, eh?
When a worker refuses to do an apparently dangerous job, it may be reassigned to another worker. If that person has been informed that someone else has already refused to do it, and why, and that he or she also has the right to refuse it.
Another thing you've got going for you under this new law is the right to know what you're working with, whether it's bacteria, chemicals, radiation, or anything else that you may come in contact with in the workplace.
That doesn't mean you don't have to read and understand labels on containers or follow the instructions or data sheets supplied with whatever you use at work. But wherever such information is required, it must comply with government regulations. Manufacturers and suppliers must give the Department of Labor, on request, all the scientific info about any kind of substance you may use at work.
That way, if a substance is suspected of being a health hazard, they can plan how best to control it. And in an emergency, they'll know exactly what to do.
That's right. Occupational health and safety officers like me are only concerned with a risk-free working environment. We used to be staff of several government agencies: Labor, Health, Mines and Energy, and the Workers' Compensation Board. But now we're consolidated under the new Occupational Health and Safety Division of the Department of Labor. Occupational health and safety officers can enter the workplace at any reasonable time to conduct health and safety inspections, relevant tests, or investigations. We can examine documents or plans, discuss a hazard with those involved, or summon people to give evidence. We can order an employer to remove a hazard, or to stop operation until it is removed, and we can prevent altogether the use of materials, equipment, or even work sites that present unreasonable hazards to workers. Oh, that's fine, Dave. Even so, aside from routine inspections like this one, we're not likely to interfere in health and safety matters so long as workers and employers, following the principles and regulations of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, cooperate to promote healthy, accident-free conditions by themselves.
Safety on the job is in everyone's best interest. It's money in the bank.
Yeah, and the best way to prevent accidents and reduce health hazards is to get everybody in the company involved.
That's what responsibilities and rights really mean.
I guess I don't have to worry about these people. How about you? For more information about the Occupational Health and Safety Act or its regulations, call toll-free in Nova Scotia 424-8603.